it can really help people get done the same thing done a lot quicker, a lot better, and still give them time to spend with their family. So my vision is that we move to the 4-day work week. Instead of laying off people in that corporate greed that, okay, we're going to do things faster, then we don't need, this 500,000 employees. We're just going to, make everybody else work harder and continue to bog them down with work, 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 work. Like, for example, a few months ago, I posted on like somebody in a big company, I think it might have been Microsoft, had a heart attack or something at his desk because his family attributed to that working too hard. I think companies, in my perfect world vision, keep the employees, upskill them, transform and embed AI into the systems from the ground up and give that time back to your employees.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to 10x AI. This is the show where we explore how AI doesn't replace people. Instead, it amplifies them. So I'm your host, Julius Neal. I'm here now with Jeannette to discuss her journey from being an HR professional for 25 years and now being very curious about, about the AI transformation and how AI is changing the way HR is doing the processes and the system. Oh, Jeannette, can you give our listeners and viewers your background and how you got interested into the artificial intelligence?
Absolutely. Thank you, Julius. I have been in HR, like you said, for 20 years. I started to do extra classes because as HR is changing and the environment is changing, I knew that it was really important for me to learn as much as I could about the new environment. Started taking classes through Hacking HR, and it opened my eyes to the fact that HR is basically, not HR, but AI, sorry,
AI.
taking over, all work, and it'll be affecting everyone. So I guess I had a little bit of that FOMO where I didn't want to be left out. So I continue to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can.
But do you think it's really moving fast towards AI? Because for me, I really feel like after 1 or 2 months, everything's moving fast, and I need to also, to update what I learned and what are the updates that I need to upskill, and I think there's a lot of disruption going on, but we don't know. It's all over the place. So that's why, like you, I'm also having that fear of missing out. I need to be able to, to jump in. Otherwise, I'll get left behind. Do you think it's moving forward like that?
Yes, I think it's moving extremely fast. Just for one example, I am on ChatGPT every day, doing different things, helping me with my writing, helping me with my research, or learning things. And I got into the different area where it's like your ChatGPTs, and there was absolutely new areas, one of which was really interesting to me. It was like your sarcastic ChatGPT. Like, seriously. Like, I asked it, like, so what is this all about? And it's like, what's this all about? Like answering you sarcastically. I will dive into that a little bit later, but I didn't have time last night. But different areas, everything is changing in such a rapid pace. If you learned AI a year ago, it's completely different now. So you do have to keep learning, and continually learning. For example, one of the classes that I took with Hacking HR through Enrique, he specifically said, so you're taking this class, I'm going to be giving this same class, in a couple of months, but it's going to be different because it is changing just that quickly.
Yeah, so based on your learnings in your journey, you're taking up classes, reading about AI and then using ChatGPT or some other AI tools. What do you think is, the most disruptive in terms of the HR function when it comes to AI?
So I think that as far as the HR function, it is definitely taking a lot of the work that is repetitious and being able to do that very quickly, automatically. I think that a lot of companies are kind of using it as a tool that is replacing what people, or even just the actual people. But I think that that's the wrong way to use it in a sense. I think that it should augment all of the processes that we do, the easy functions, but it just definitely needs the human aspect as well. I think that,
What aspect of the human, of our humanity that AI still needs. AI is a very structured way of doing things, right? So what are those qualities or skills that humans are still needed when it comes to AI transformation?
Well, AI is just, it's mathematical. Doesn't it, it's just sees, black and white. So it doesn't have, and it'll tell you, you can ask it and it'll tell you that it does not have empathy. It can't see certain things. It's a process. It'll go through a process, a mathematical process, but it doesn't have empathy. It doesn't have the background, like just the compassion and the knowledge in that aspect that a human still does. So we need to make sure, and companies have already screwed up in a way because there's lawsuits on bias and stuff like that. So we need to make sure that we are having the correct governance before we're using it in automation when you're dealing with people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So you told about governance, and then currently I think there's no standard governance when it comes to AI because it's still evolving. And there's so many industries, that we need to standardize as well. Not only HR, we have also manufacturing, production, cosmetics, drug discovery. So all of this, and it's very hard for us to be able, very hard for the industry to be able to say that this is going to be our standard. It's not like it's going to be an ISO standard or IATF and all this, right?
Right. You can't just leave it alone. It is going to be evolving. So I think that companies are missing the spot that you need somebody that is working on that and testing and making sure that it's working the way that we want to, making sure that it's working within the standards of the law and the company, their ethics and their values and, presenting it in that way. And you just can't leave it alone to do its thing because it's gonna screw a lot of stuff up.
Yeah, so I've been sneaking around the Transform platform that we have, and I saw one of the comments there, and she asked about AI interviews. We just need to bypass all the the humans, interviewing, and then they have this AI tool that can interview first the candidates, and based on your criteria, it will choose which candidates are the best. What do you think about it?
Well, I can say from my personal experience, I had an AI recruiter call me once and I just hung up. I don't,
Really?
I don't, I don't want to talk to AI. I want to talk to a person. And I would imagine that a lot of people feel the same way. But that is, again, just taking the human out of it. And I think that AI can look at a resume and pick out if the government is correct and you go in and make sure that it is choosing the way that you want to, because I've seen even that kind of screwed up in my career. But it can kind of pick and choose resumes. But when it comes to actually talking to other people, you get that sense of the person and AI can't do that. It can definitely predict sentiment, but I'm not 100% on that yet.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of like, how is that? I need to dig in a little bit deeper, which I think it's fascinating that it can do that, but I just think that the human needs to be involved, and it's still very awkward to talk to, a robot on the phone about your career. And I've also had people, or companies I should say, send me, a video, and they'll ask me a couple of questions, give me a couple of seconds to answer it. I can't do that. I have to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
to
I,
somebody.
I, me too. I think I cannot do that. I haven't. That's why I ask you because I haven't encountered it yet because I am still a people person. I wanted to talk in person or
Right.
like this, right? It's still, you need to have that communication and connection with people because sometimes just typing, just sending email are very different things.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes,
You
so
missed
sometimes
that
it's just,
lost in translation,
yes.
like different ways, the way people say things, the way they don't say things, their movement, their body movement, their
Yes,
eye
yes.
contact, everything.
Yeah, it's very important that you see if the person is smiling, the gestures, the
Right.
rapport and then the charisma. So it's very important for me also. Given that, and this is now transforming into this space. How do you think, it will affect the hiring process? Because the companies now are, spending a lot of their, resources to be able to cut, the frontliners and automate things, and
Mhm.
then still having the KPI or the goal of getting the most out of it. how do you think it will affect the recruiting process?
So, if done correctly, it could really quicken that time to hire and be able to get the correct people. I think in certain ways, it is better at pulling certain things out of the resume of what people have done and how it can affect the specific company. Again, if done correctly. And it will, and I'm not ignorant to the fact that I guess, a lot of jobs will be lost in that aspect. Things, but I still think that a human needs to be involved, but it will help automate all of
Yeah.
that process, and I'm actually
W-
looking forward to that part.
Because now we are seeing many companies and these are big companies who are laying off. They're laying off thousands of people because they're not very transparent about it. But I think it's because of the AI. They don't want people to get too fearful about AI. And they were saying it's just about restructuring or some financial, financial alignment with the goals and all this. So I still believe that there's an AI component on that. So do you think of all those people who is going to be displaced by this AI, is there going to be a new industry that is going to be created?
I don't know if it's industry per se, but yes, absolutely. Different roles will evolve. I think that whenever there is a new technology from, the tractor for farmers, or there is a lot of disruption and job changes are made, and different roles are developed within that. Right now, I think we're in like such deep disruption and the change, it will eventually even out. But I think that this is a little bit different than the other disruptions, as because it's like you said, it's moving so quickly and everybody's just kind of like, what am I supposed to do? I personally was laid off. It was an acquisition. It didn't have to do with AI, but am finding it very hard to find a job. And I'm not the only one. Because of my involvement with Transform and trying to build that Columbus chapter, I've talked to a lot of different professionals in the area. And even one of my old colleagues I reached out to yesterday, and he was like, he's a manager in logistics. And he was like, this is brutal. And I absolutely, because people don't know, so they have the fear, and it's just it's a different time. But I think eventually it'll even out or smooth out a bit.
Yeah, but right now there will be two groups. One group that is, very positive about AI. Some companies or individuals who are very positive. Okay, like us, we have to move
Mhm.
forward. And then there are deniers. It's not going to be, it's not going to be disruptive in our industry, and all this, all these parameters is still, not within our AI, it's reached by AI. So will you be able to manage that? Like, for example, if you're going to be a consultant or you have a friend or a CEO you're going to advise that is who is not, very into it. So how will you in advise him? Like, you have to move now, because if you move at least, later, catching up would be a disaster. It will be a very, very, a very, very disastrous move.
Right. So I think that ignoring AI is just as dangerous as moving too quickly without the governance and, the proper. I think ignoring it is probably one of the worst things that a company can do, because a company that is just like that start automating, they're going to wind up with all of the business and the other company is going to become irrelevant. So I think either side of the spectrum is very, very dangerous, and they're just not paying attention. So again,
Yeah, yeah,
with me interviewing with different companies, I have in every interview brought up AI and their integration of AI. And there has been companies that were like, oh, we're not allowed to use it.
yeah, yeah,
Really? Okay. And then there has been companies, well, everybody uses their own little thing on the side, ChatGPT, but it's their own accounts. And I was like, so you're not monitoring any of that. So that seems dangerous to me too. And it's in the aspect of HR, you need to make sure that your people are trained and they understand that it's open AI, privacy.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, yeah, because
it's a huge.
there might be a lot, there might be documentations or some data, integrity or privacy that you need to protect within the company. But maybe some of the employees are using AI or ChatGPT, or using that in their work. It's better for you to be able to govern that, so that you know what are the data that's going out of the company.
Right. Absolutely. So if you as a company had like a Chat GPT account, I would never say it's 100% safe, but I think personal accounts are a little bit safer. And then you can work with the rep to make sure that the governance is what you want it to be. And then you can, I don't think there's a way to like completely monitor yet what employees are doing, but there is at least that sense of a little bit more control if it is a company product opposed to somebody just using it on the
Yes.
side. And
Mm.
I mean, I'm honest, I've used ChatGPT at my work and I was allowed to.
I think that's a misconception about, AI, ChatGPT, or Perplexity and other tools. They think if you use that, it's cheating. It's not cheating, right? It's a tool. It's a tool that helps you. You still have to think about what it's giving you, right? So it's still you still have to have that human touch. At what you're saying, yeah. The human touch will always be there. But this is a tool that at least the research part is done like 50%, even if like
Right.
60 or 70%. 60 or 70% is not so, 60 or 70% accuracy, at least you have the 70%. So what I do, for example, is I'm just, if I wanted rapid answers or quick answer, I just chat GPT and then check, okay, these are the articles that they say. And then I still, counter check. I'll
Right.
check to Google and then check, okay, is this a real article? Is this, article that has basis? Is it scientific or is it based on engineering principles or frameworks? So that is, I think, the misconception about it. Like if you use AI, it's just it. Okay, just copy it and then use that. I think
Yeah, you have
most,
to
yeah,
research everything
right?
it says
Yeah,
too.
you still have to
I've
do
had
it, right?
times that the links don't even apply to what it said, and I'm like, what is this?" You know? And then one of my pet peeves on AI is if sometimes, especially like with graphics, if you don't like what it puts out and you try to change it, it'll change that one spot that was messed up. It'll mess up something else. So yeah, you have to like completely watch what it's putting out, and you can't just. I think that it is definitely a tool for research and helping people write better and more. I guess bringing clarity to what they want to say, but it still has to be what you want to say. You can't just put it out that like not read it. Like it's gonna say something crazy, and then you're gonna be like, "What?"
Yeah, and that is why it's really important for organizations also to upskill and then train the people how to use the AI tools instead of no, you're not allowed to use AI because blah blah blah. Instead
Because
of
they're going to do it.
yeah, because they have the smartphone. They have their owns, right? So it's still initial stages for the company, but I think it's very dangerous not to embrace it. At least prepare for that, right? There must be some plan. You can be a
Mhm.
second mover, not to. For example, a lot of organizations now are first mover. They just jump in and then put all the resources. You can be an observer. Okay, we have a 5-year plan and start with this, and
Right.
then right, and then also
Yes.
have some survey from the employees. What do you think of AI? What do you think of the things that we can use that can increase our productivity? So on that aspect, the people will not think that AI will replace their job,
Right. Have a
right?
little bit more trust in the company and what's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Like the way that I think that AI should be integrated is like sit down with each job within your company, rip it apart. Like take the job description, disassemble it, find out where AI could help that role, and then reimagine it. Reimagine it completely different job, right? Within
Yes,
the same guidelines, but
yeah, yeah.
and do that for every role within your company. And then we're not stacking AI on top of processes that already exist or automation that already exists and things go haywire. You have to literally reconstruct the whole business in a sense, and that takes time. So just throwing stuff on top of processes that don't work, it's just going to make processes not work faster.
And that's why it's very important for the top management of C levels to be able to draft a plan, like a 5-year plan, even though you're not spending a lot of resources right now. At least there's a plan by next year when the circumstances are better now, and then maybe we trust AI already. Then at this point, this is our plan to integrate that in our system. And I
So
think
I
a lot
think
of
that it really not just the C-suite needs to do that. I think there needs to be a committee. So HR needs to be involved because I think IT and HR need to work very, very closely together because there's certain things that obviously HR isn't going to understand that IT does. but vice versa. They don't know the people, they don't know the process, they don't know the laws
The
that
policies,
what
right?
we do, the
Yeah.
policies, correct. But also, like, and it doesn't even have to be the manager or the leader of each of the departments, but somebody from each department, because we might not know or understand each job the way we need to and how it affects. So kind of like that system thinking. How is each change that we make going to affect every role?
It's correct, correct. So that's I got interested in your background because you are also one of those people like me who are jumping into the AI and wanted to upskill yourself and be
Hmm.
prepared in the future, right?
Absolutely.
You've been deepening your work in AI integration. What's the most exciting, do you think, HR challenge you believe AI can realistically solve today versus the hype?
What is the biggest HR challenge that AI can?
Realistically solve versus the hype, because you know the hype, right? Oh, we can solve this, automate this, and then this is our efficiency gain, blah blah blah, and all this.
Right. I think it can just make help HR in developing initiatives quicker, faster, with more clarity, being able to, for example, just putting out there a large performance improvement plan. Like
Mhm.
just kind of digging in there, doing the research, what's working, what is, the best practices right now? How does this fit into my organization and how can I apply this? More of that research to get all that stuff done quicker and better. But again, with the human involved saying, okay, well, this department has this nuance that we need to fix. And, that you're not just rolling out something that is completely AI driven. But I think that there's a lot more that we can do a lot quicker with more clarity and help people understand where we're coming from a little bit better instead of,
Yeah, yeah. Across the industry, HR will still have that bad rep
well, I
when it
mean,
comes to
there's,
that. When it comes to transparency, all this. So if HR is, it's only HR is going to have this project or committee to convince the people to use AI, the employees might see, oh, okay, maybe they're going to do surveillance of what they're doing and all this. So those things are, it's like ingrained in the organization. But there are organizations who have a lot of good HR management, but generally across industries, it's HR. So we have to avoid this.
oh no, I've totally got that completely. In the last industry or the last position that I was in, I was the first HR on site. So there was some hesitation and some people that really were excited to see me, but still it took just a minute. And once they got to know me, I'm very personable, I'm very approachable. They embraced having HR on site. It was something different than I had seen previously in other companies. It was interesting. But yeah, there was still like, don't say that. It's HR. Can't
So
say that. We can't do that. But I mean, I don't disagree completely because I mean, if they're talking about stuff that I find, you know, that could possibly be offensive, I might say something. Not gonna write them up, but I'll let them know.
so based on that experience, what do you think is the value that AI can add to the employee experience in ways that they will still feel deeply human?
So I really think that the best way to look at it is it can, if done correctly, I'll say that. It can really help people get done the same thing done a lot quicker, a lot better, and still give them time to spend with their family. So my vision is that we move to the 4-day work week. Instead of laying off people in that corporate greed that, okay, we're going to do things faster, then we don't need, this 500,000 employees, we're just gonna, make everybody else work harder and continue to bog them down with work, 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 work. Like, for example, a few months ago, I posted on like somebody in a big company, I think it might have been Microsoft,
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, like passed away, like had a heart attack or something at his desk because his family attributed to that working too hard. I think companies, in my perfect world vision, keep the employees, upskill them, transform and embed AI into the systems from the ground up and give that time back to your employees. Like I said, the 4-day work week, instead of the corporate greed, we got to do more faster and we're not going to pay anybody for that. Like, we got to stop that. Somehow there needs to be some kind of governance around that.
Yeah.
But in a perfect world, it could give everybody a little bit more time to spend with their family, with their kids, doing things to make them happier, doing things to make them more productive when they are at work. Because that's I think that's what it needs to be or what it was meant to be. But I
I
don't.
I totally, I totally agree with you because I work in several countries already. Work in the Middle East, work in Singapore, and then I work also in Japan before. So I can see this, the dynamics of the work. That you have to work hard to get promoted, right? So all these things just change when I transferred, when I moved to the Nordics. So before here in Iceland, I was in Sweden. And I
Wow.
saw, right? I saw in the Swedish society or here, even in Icelandic society, they were able, to make things work, the work-life balance. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, so how come the other countries were not able to do it? And now, right? And now these countries like the Nordics, Norway, Denmark, Scandinavian, and then the Sweden, Iceland, they were able to make things work. There's relatively almost no overtime unless it's a manufacturing plant. And then they have, 6 months of, maternal
Hmm.
and all this, social nets is in place. So I was really amazed, like, okay, so how come it's not possible for other countries? I mean, this is one part of the world that is, very different. I was lucky to see that. And that's why I think a lot of people here were able to embrace any changes that is going to be in the organization because they still have, their family to support them. And even
They have that
the
trust.
work, right? Even the work is very stressful. They still have that. And that's your point, right?
Hmm.
Do you think that if the employees or the organization will embrace, the AI and use it in the right way, the stress in the workplace or of course maybe eliminated?
I don't think stress will ever be eliminated because everybody was stressed about something. But yes, I think that it could
At least
definitely
the stress
have an.
level, right? The stress level will at least minimized.
It gives people a pathway to research things that they may not know right offhand or learn new things. I picked up a prompt. I think it was off of X and changed it a little bit, and it is teach me anything. So act like, an expert. And one of the things I use is for organizational psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Teach me everything. And it's just taken me through all of the theories. And I mean, that's one of the things I'm having to teach me. But in that aspect, anybody can do that and help them with their work. It's augmenting their work. And I'm not saying that it'll take stress away, but it can give time back to them so they can de-stress and relax. Say if you have an extra day, you can get especially like, people that have families. They're coming home from work, they're cooking, they're going grocery shopping, and on the weekends they're just so exhausted they can barely get anything done, but they got to cut the grass, they got to take the
Yeah.
dog to and do all of that stuff, and they're rushing, then just back on Monday, and you're like, geez, I didn't get a break at all. I think that everybody needs time to relax and spend with their family and community. I think that is huge for people's happiness, and just having that time back can make a difference in their lives, everybody's lives, with their overall happiness and their ability to handle the stress when there is stress at work. I don't think that it'll take away stress, but it'll be more manageable.
Yeah, so for our listeners and viewers who are also very fearful about, can you guide them how you transform from somebody who is non-AI, non-technical person to become very interested and curious about AI and then very serious about integrating the AI tools in your future career and future work or in your daily life?
So I would say that just go in and, I mean, a lot of it's free. Like it's free. You can get on ChatGPT and start asking questions and seeing how it works and seeing how it can help you. A lot of people still use it kind of like their Google, but it's so much better than Google because it'll give you so much more information.
Yeah.
It's hard if somebody is like adamant that they don't want to use it. I have very personal people around me that feel the same way, that they're like, oh, it's just going to make you stupid. You're not going to think for yourself. And I'm like, no, I don't think that that's true. Sometimes it gives you a little bit of extra ideas and questions and expands. I'm not saying that it can't if you use it in the wrong way. But yeah, there's free lessons. So another thing that I do being unemployed, I can't pay for all these fancy classes. I thank goodness hacking HR is really inexpensive for the value that it provides.
Mhm.
So I'm able to continue with that. But for example, I was on a Tony Robbins AI summit.
Yeah,
Had
tell
a
me about it. You told me about this, right, Tony Robbins?
Yeah. And so I'm picking up a little bit here and there. Sure. They want to sell me a class that's $1,000 that I'm not going to pay for, but just doing the little summit and I'm picking up tools. They're giving free information of like prompts and stuff like that. And you just pick everything up along the way. And I think it's important to understand what you're against. And if you're still against it, so be it. But I think that you'll
So what changed when you attended the AI summit of Tony Robbins? What changed from your perspective?
when I was
Yeah,
attending the
before joining, and then when you joined and then saw all those prompts, all those, tools and tips and advice. After that, what comes out after that?
I don't think that I haven't used all the prompts and the tools that they've provided so far because yesterday I had one and the day before, and actually there's one this afternoon. So it's a 3-day summit. But initially, after that first one, I got really excited about what I can do personally
Mhm.
to make money with AI. Let's be honest. So I'm starting to play around with building apps. And just the fact that I can do that for free, absolutely for free, is amazing. So
Yes.
it's like the sky's the limit. You got to figure out what you want to do and what skills you have to bring to the world and how AI can help you get there.
Yeah. Because yeah, that's good also for our listeners and viewers because you are non-tech person. So for those non-tech persons who are listening right now, so that's how you do it. Because it becomes very exciting for you, right? Because
Hmm.
without writing any single line of code, you'll be able to do some app and possibility, to earn from that, right?
Yes. And Julius, I'll tell you the honest truth. When I started college, my first major was computer science. This was back, I don't want to
Really?
age myself too much, but this was back when, everybody really started digging into, buying PCs like for their homes and it was affordable. And
Yeah.
I was just amazed by everything. The internet was coming out. I was just like, oh, this is awesome. I want to be in computer science. But yeah, I didn't like code. I couldn't do it
Why did you choose that when you were,
because I wanted to learn and I wanted to be able to solve problems with you know, the computers and reach people in ways that you could never reach people before. But it was just fascinating. More than anything, it was really fascinating to me. But I am more of a big picture person. So I want to make the little tool that, automates on the computer screen and looks really cute. But I am not going to spend all that time trying to dot slash like the code is so when I took a Java class and I was like, yep, nope, not doing this. So I transformed into or pivoted into human resources where I always knew I was a people person. So it kind of made sense. But instead of solving the computer problems, I wanted to solve people problems. And it was really the right fit for me. But right now, because the coding is now taken off the table, I'm like, wow. I'm just, that young person amazed by everything that's going on and I just want to take it all in as much as possible, learn as much as I can. I'll mm,
just just like you, I'm also a big picture person, so I kind of struggle sometimes when it comes to the details, right? And then there's so many agents now and tools, and then there are emerging, solo founders who are having their AI employees, right?
mhm,
I don't know if Tony Robbins talk about this, about that you can create your own employees, right? You
yeah,
can create your
yeah,
employees, right? There's a researcher, there's a marketer, the social marketer, and all
yeah,
this stuff without having to hire somebody, right? So do you think it's going to be a trend in the future that a
yeah,
lot a lot of companies will also, even the larger companies will also have that AI department of employees, AI employees of different in different departments, like a partner of human in decision making, and then the data driven analysis and all this. Do you think it's going to be integrated in the future?
Absolutely. I think that that would be a smart thing to do to not take away the human. Again, keep the human, but augment their work with the agent. So I have developed my own agents. I I have about 5 or 6
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT agents. I really haven't dug into the Gemini. I think they're called gems.
Mm-hmm.
Different platforms have different things, but yes, I think that that's actually a smart tool or a smart way to use
Yeah,
AI
I
is
I I
kind of help.
remember a few months back I read one, I think one of the companies, I forgot. It's a very famous company, and during their board meetings, they have an AI board. An AI board. Somebody, in the board meetings, they will ask that board based on our conversation. They will put all their conversation. What do you think is the best way to move forward? What is the decision, that we have to take? What are the pros and cons? And then, it worked for them.
Mhm. No, I love that. I love that. It's just it gives you a different perspective, and it sometimes makes you think of or helps you think of things that you didn't think of. So a lot of things that I do with, for example, ChatGPT, I will put in if I'm writing something or I'm trying to research something, and it I'll have it ask me questions back so I completely understand what's going on and I'm completely immersed in the conversation. I'm not just taking ChatGPT's chat their word for it, and it's
Yeah.
it's it's asking me different questions to really develop. And I will say, be brutally honest. Am I on the right track? What's going on? Is my ideas correct? And it will. They'll say, yeah, usually it's really nice and you're right on track, yada yada. But you may want to consider this and this and that. And I'm like, huh, good idea. And then you dig into that a little bit more. I think that will be very valuable in large businesses. I think for small businesses or just that one person entrepreneur that has this new product, they can use those couple of little agents to help them along where they won't have to
Yeah, like
hire
for example,
someone.
if you are a CEO of a big organizations, you can also have this AI agent who have all the data in your company instead of just asking for example, your CFO or your chief technical officer of what is happening in our engineering or product development. You can just ask your own AI agent, which
Hmm.
has all the data. Where are we at now at this project? Right? Imagine that
Yeah,
power at your
absolutely.
fingertips instead of asking, the bureaucracy, CTO to manager, supervisor to engineer and all this. And it would take maybe 2 to 3 weeks before you got all the information. You just ask that and then ask
Yeah.
that, right? It's going
It
to
can
be,
reduce some of those bottlenecks where people are
yeah,
waiting.
this is very important for organization to embrace, because if you have all those data, it might not be 100%. At least you have 70% of the data,
Hmm.
and you will never have the 100% correctly. Whether you decide on one thing, whether there's AI or no AI, you will never have 100% of the data. At least you have 60 to 70% correctly, and then you can move forward, and then you can change your agenda, right? Instead of being very bureaucratic, okay, after this week, can you give me the update after 2 weeks or 3 weeks? This can shorten that time because the CTO will say, okay, I'll chat. Here's my agent, my partner, and this is
Hmm.
what's happening now, and this is where we at, and where are we failing? Where are the resources, slacking? And that is a very a different way of working in an organization if we have all those tools, that only if the organization or the whole chain of the organization or institution will embrace that AI is a tool and not
Hmm.
something that will not something that will change the dynamics of the organization. And
Yeah.
sometimes, in my previous podcast, somebody said that some of the people who are using AI, who doesn't want to use AI, said that if you use AI, you are cheating.
No,
It's
I know a lot
cheating.
of people kind of feel that way. And I'm not saying that people don't use it to cheat. It's possible, but I don't think that's the correct way. But in line with what you were kind of saying, I think that it can change in a way because history, we follow the CEO because of their experiences, or the manager. They made decision based on their experiences, past experiences, and now we can make decisions differently. get different information. What are the best practices? Maybe this manager hasn't had the best experience. Maybe they are more traditional in their way of handling things, and that's just not the way to do things. And everybody has all of this information at their fingertips. So I think that managers, CEOs, CFOs will be challenged more by their employees just because they have access to all the information on best practices and how things can run differently. Asking the right prompts and not getting confused, because that's part of it too, making sure that you're prompting it correctly and you're asking the right questions. That's something that I continue to build.
And you know that, it's always a problem within organization, and most of the organization I had is the communication. That, from the frontliners to the shop floor, and then to the middle management up to the CEO, a lot of the information are filtered. Do you think this will at least standardize the way of reporting of data when it comes to the boardroom decision making?
In a sense, I think as far as data is concerned, that one's a tough one. It just depends on the organization, really. But I am a huge advocate for transparency all around, because people need to know what's going on. They need to understand the business. And if you really want somebody to be, dedicated to your company, but you're not going to tell them what's going on, it's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Because people
Yeah.
feel it. They know things are going on. You have too many closed doors or whatever. So I think that this is a way that can open up or make leaders realize that they have the law over here. They know. Everybody knows all of this information is at their fingertips all the
Yeah.
time. So they have a little bit more of a pressure. The leaders have a little bit more pressure on them to be transparent and let people know, because you'll be surprised. How people will take that. Yeah, some people will be like, "Oh, I don't like the way you're handling this. I'm gonna leave." That's fine. But some people will just appreciate that you spent the time to make sure that everybody knew what was going on, and would be more, I can't think of the word that I want, but just more involved in the work, more immersed in the
Immersed.
company and the missions. Engaged. There we go. More
Yeah,
engaged.
more engaged, yeah. So for someone who has the solid experience in people strategy and who wanted like you to bridge the technology, what do you think is the biggest barrier from, preventing HR teams or other teams from adopting AI tools effectively?
I think first it is fear, because in HR, pretty much everything we touch is confidential. So
Okay.
there's not a whole lot we can just throw in there and get answers to. Like, you don't want, like, social security numbers, names, like all of that. Like, no. So we got to figure out and get more comfortable with kind of making the information that we put into there kind of bland. But I think it's not only fear of HR and confidential information, but it's fear of the companies not understanding how this is going to work, how this is going to help us in the future or now. It's the future's now. But I think that that's a big barrier, just not having the knowledge and the know-how, and maybe even the resistance to, I don't want to mess with it, you know?
I understand. Mm, In your view, 10 years from now, where do you think would AI be in 10 years?
It's going to be embedded into every business, every job, it's going to be like the internet or personal computers or the tractor. It's just there. You use it. Everybody uses it. It's embedded. So I think in 10 years, for sure, it's going to be embedded in everything that we do.
It's also, I just attended one Franklin and Covey seminar about leadership. And then there's one segment there about AI strategy. And then there's one guy from Google who told us, the one of the speakers, that 30% of their coding are made by AI.
Hmm.
It's already
Yeah.
30% now. And I was really surprised about it. So that's the reason that they are not hiring software development anymore.
Yeah.
That's why it's very important for the people who are listening now and the viewers. Just like Jeanette, it's time to move. Whether you're fearful or you're excited about it, you have to be able to move forward in using these tools or integrate it into your life. Whether it's personal or whether it's career, it will still be beneficial for you in the next 5 or 10 years, because this is not going away. It's going to be the trend, and it's going to be the standard in the future. right?
Right? So and I'm not super surprised that 30% of their coding is done by AI, because could you imagine how long it takes a coder to code like lots of an AI in a second? Now you have to check it, make sure it works, and ask it questions, but still, that's what, 15 minutes opposed to maybe an entire day or week. I don't know how long it takes people to, because I gave up coding a long time ago. But um yeah, I
And that
mean,
is and that is very crucial if Google is doing it now, and maybe a lot of the tech companies will also do it, like Amazon, maybe
but you don't
Apple
even have
also.
to be a tech company. That's what I'm saying. Like, I literally created an app. All the code for an app was created by ChatGPT. I told him what I wanted.
And that's it.
I said, where can I put this in and make this app for free? They told me. I did. I said, how do I protect it? They told me, and I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And I'm not tech. I'm not
imagine if
curious.
if before you need at least 4 years of studies to be able to do this. And
Mhm.
now you just need Chat GPT and some open-mindedness and then follow the instructions, comprehension, and then that's it. You don't even have to take maybe the whole day to do that.
No, a couple hours, kind of, everything isn't aligned always 100%. So you got to kind of like ChatGPT will say, look, we're on the left where it says yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, it doesn't say that. It says
Yeah.
this, because I think it's a little bit behind. For example, like I put in what are some of the job postings that I might, want to apply for. And it will research and pull things back. But some of the links that I click have been filled and they're gone. So I think it's a little bit behind. I don't know why, or I don't completely understand what's going on, because I thought it was real time, but it's not perfect,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it is definitely helpful.
But it's going to improve in the next, maybe they are
And
not yet in that level yet, but eventually, like many other technologies, it will become more stable, more robust, and more accurate.
absolutely, it's changed tremendously since just the year and a half, maybe 2 years that I've been using AI. The changes and the advances have skyrocketed. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for all of the insights that you have, that you have given our viewers and our listeners. Now I'm going to move on the X fire has fire round. So I'll ask you 10 questions about AI per se, and then you just have to answer in your personal insights. So what's one AI tool you actually use every day?
ChatGPT every
What
single day.
every single day? Okay. What's one task AI has already 10x in your life?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
What one task AI has 10x, like 10 times, yourself in your life?
Okay. In my life, writing like updating resumes,
Okay, nice, nice.
because I'm
What
looking for positions. So I do that very quickly.
so what's one human skill AI can never replace?
Empathy,
If you could automate one annoying thing forever, what would that be?
pay my bills. Well, that's kinda automated already. Professionally, probably resourcing, recruiting,
Okay.
at least that initial reading resumes. Yeah.
Reading resume.
I mean, it's doing that already, but yeah, I think that's amazing, because my head hurts sometimes after reading like
Yeah,
100
I know.
resumes in a
So many
row.
resumes and different formats, right? And fonts, different ways of preparing. So what's the biggest misconception about AI right now?
That you can ignore it and it's going to go away.
It's dangerous. So what advice would you give someone who wants to become 10x of himself or herself starting today?
Repeat the question.
What advice would you give someone who wants to become X of himself or herself
10
starting
times.
today?
Well, I would tell them to start researching and figuring out how to do that. There are clones. One of the things that I did here in Tony Robbins
Mhm.
seminars is there's the ability to make clones of yourself to do the work. So yeah, it's possible.
Really? Wow, that's
Well, I mean,
nice.
a computerized clone, but
Yeah,
it
I mean,
takes time, and the system has to learn your ideas, how you talk. But yes, clones.
what would you tell your younger self about the future?
Stay with computer science. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I mean, just stay up to date, make sure that you're staying in everything that's happening,
Yeah.
paying
W-
attention.
What's one book, podcast, or resource that shape your thinking about AI or innovation?
Hacking HR, classes through Hacking HR. changed my life. Seriously. Yeah.
If you had to bet on one AI trend that will be massive in 3 years, what is it?
One AI trend that will be massive in 3 years. I think just anybody and everybody making their own businesses. There's going to be a lot of small businesses, it's going to be kind of like that .com
Mm-hmm.
trend.
Yeah.
Same thing, different aspects, but yeah.
Okay, my last question is, in one sentence, what does 10x mean to you personally?
What does
10x.
10x? Being able to do more quicker.
That's nice. Okay, that was the rapid round. X, thank you very much for everything that you have shared with us. And if there's somebody who wanted to reach out to you, how do they reach you? Can you give
I'm
them
on
the
LinkedIn. What is it? www.linkedin.com/in/Jeannette, JEANNETTE. A lot of people miss the second N. Dash York, YORK.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll also drop that in the comments section and
Okay,
also in the video for those who are going to be viewing this. So I'll share her
perfect. I can
contact.
I mentioned hacking HR a couple of
Yeah,
times.
hacking HR. Yeah.
I can throw a link in there for you as well
Yeah. Yeah.
if
Thank
somebody's
you.
interested in checking it out.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much again, Jeanette, and have a nice day.